Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi. Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Jesse who?
Jesse Garcia, the vice chair of the state Republican Party.
Is that the guy that didn't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to be with us?
That's right. This, what you're really listening to, is a special edition of the Cats Roundtable.
All right. Okay. Super special edition of the Cats Roundtable. And, well, we've had some segment here, and calling in. I mean, he was listening to us, and he was angry that we didn't give Eric Adams credit for being pro-Semitism. Is that a new expression?
Pro-Semitism? I've never heard that before in my entire life.
We are pro-Semitism. Okay? I'm 6% Jewish. Don't forget. You know what that means? You know,
that means when they round us up, you'll be in the camps with us.
One of my great-grandfathers, the definition of 6% is either a great-grandfather or great-grandmother was Jewish. So I tell all my Jewish friends, one of my great-grandfathers or grandmothers got screwed by a Jew.
Very nice. And you're pro-Semitic, huh?
I am pro-Semitic. Okay. Todd Shapiro, you were so angry you called in because you represent Mayor Eric Adams, and tell us what you feel about it.
So first of all, the former mayor just got back from Israel 2 days ago. He was there for a week and stuff like that. And, he saw a lot of stuff. He was meeting with people in the Knesset and different Jewish leaders and people from the state of Israel. Because, and now as a private citizen, I think he sees things a lot different than he did before. And he's, as you always put it, Johnny, he's mad as hell. I mean, he's looking back now. And, when he was mayor, listen, he did a lot of good things. He did a lot of maybe not so good things. But for the most part, he was a strong ally to the state of Israel. And he was a strong ally to Jewish people, to all residents, Jews, Muslims. But, he really was a voice for the Jewish people when the Gaza attacks took place. And I think what he's looking at now was the mayor, the present mayor's statement. And when he came out, was not very strong. And it didn't come across. He was attacking the president of an illegal act of war. And I think just, looking at things today, I mean, I think he feels, I know he feels, that, that a mayor should be solid to the people he represents.
Now, let me ask you a question. When he was mayor, you had appointments with 90% black. Now, the blacks have been taken out of the, I guess, I haven't seen that many blacks being appointed by Zorhan. Is the black community upset?
Is the black people upset? I think a lot of people are upset. Listen, understand, 50%, over 50% of people didn't vote for this mayor. It was a different population. It was, I think a lot of people said it before. I mean, the people that voted, and this was an Eric Adams quote, the people that voted used to only be on Social Security. The people voted this time were on social media.
Did Curtis vote for Zorhan? Go ahead. Eric Levine, get it off your chest.
I'm proud to say that I supported Eric Adams. I did fundraisers for Eric Adams. I thought he was a fine mayor, and he was and is a great friend of the Jewish people and Israel. There's no question about that.
And I like Eric Adams a great deal, too.
Yeah, and instead we've elected a communist Jew hater. And you could just see, I mean, his recent statement about opposing Iran, look, back on Iran, he supports Iran. It is part and parcel and consistent with what we were saying at the beginning of the show. This war that is continuing, it started in 1979, but what is continuing now is on one side you have the United States and Israel, and the other side you have Iran. Evil. It's good versus evil. But Zoran Mandani, the Democratic Socialists, and people like Chuck Schumer, who are too weak to stand up to them, are siding with evil. Why? Because the two worst people on the planet, Donald Trump and the Jewish people in Israel, are on the other side.
But John brings up a good point, Eric. John brings up a good point that maybe it isn't galvanizing the Jewish community in New York to try to oppose Mamdani. Maybe it's a matter of galvanizing the African-American community in New York. It's not only the fact that a lot of African-American appointees, but don't forget also at this Bash the Landlords event that Mamdani hosted and arranged this week, residents of New York City Public Housing, NYCHA, were not allowed to come in there. There was one woman who courageously stormed the mic and complained about this. The city is the biggest landlord in New York City with all these housing projects, and that is a very, very large amount of the people who are living in public housing are African Americans, and they were told they're not allowed to complain about the dangers and other squalid living conditions they had to deal with.
Fact of the matter is, what they have radical socialists, maybe even communists, who are running the housing positions in this new administration, and what they want to do is they want to destroy the middle-class landlords so they can have more control of private property and real estate by these radical socialists, by the Democratic Socialists of America. Just read their agenda. It's all out there. They're against private property. To them, property is theft.
And imagine being someone who has a son or daughter in the U.S. military right now, and you're mayor of your city. Because there are a lot of American, I think it's just a southern thing. It's not just a red state thing. There are a lot of active duty troops from the 5 boroughs of New York City, by the way. Imagine being a father, a mother of somebody in a forward position right now for the U.S. military, particularly in the Navy, and to have your mayor condemn them by extension because he condemned the United States yesterday. That was his response to Operation Epic Fury. Maybe he should have sat this one out.
My son was a Marine. He led a mortar platoon in Syria fighting ISIS in 2018 and 2019. And when these attacks on American service members in Syria were carried out by Iran and their proxies, my son was a target. So this is a righteous war. Zoran Mamdani hates America. He hates Jews. He hates Israel. So does the entire DSA. And that's who's taken over the Democratic Party. Yeah, if I'm a service member's parent today, they don't have to be active duty. Once a Marine, always a Marine. So it really is offensive. And to the point that the other guest made about over 50% of the people didn't vote for this guy, 100% right. Zoran Mamdani doesn't represent me. He doesn't represent most of the people in the. Well,
this whole thing started with my friend who used to work with us. That's Jewish, and he's pro Mamdani.
Listen,
yeah, well, look, I mean,
there's a myth that all Jews are smart, and it's not true.
But the fact that a Jew says something stupid about Jews or Israel doesn't make it any less stupid. It's still stupid. The problem is they put their ideology ahead of their religion, their faith, and their culture. And their ideology becomes their religion, their faith, and their culture. The radical left in the Jewish community, they're lost.
Well, you've heard of Stockholm Syndrome. A lot of us understand Stockholm Syndrome. There's actually 2 parts to it. Everyone knows the first part, which is you're a hostage and you start to identify with your hostage state, with your captor. But actually, the more common form of Stockholm Syndrome is that the hostages turn on each other. And I think that the Jewish people for 2,000 years have been suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. We very often, sadly, turn on each other because we've been victimized for so long. And every once in a while, you get somebody who sees the victimization of Jews by a Mamdani or by someone worse like a Khamenei and says, you know what? You were asking for it. That is a version of Stockholm Syndrome, by the way, and I think we've been suffering from it.
Hold on. I got some breaking news here. Hit it. You can't find a button. What's the matter with you? You can't find a button. I know it's early Sunday morning. No button.
The Jews did it.
Breaking news. WABC.
Okay. Secretary of War Hegseth has banned all military people from attending Princeton and Columbia and other elite universities because of their wokeness and weakness.
And that's actually a significant thing. Columbia's School of General Studies, since the beginning of the Gulf War, has had something called the Yellow Ribbon Program. This is a program at Columbia where they say whatever the GI Bill doesn't cover, we will forgive in your tuition. So in other words, veterans and people who are in the U.S. military basically go to Columbia University, if they're accepted, for free. And so for them to be told they can't go there anymore because there's so much anti-Americanism at Columbia and other schools, that's pretty significant because that Yellow Ribbon Program, as a Columbia alum myself, was one of the only things I was proud of about Columbia. And I guess that's going to be, in the garbage can now.
But still, I didn't have any of my Cypriot friends call me or text me on why, first of all, the Kissinger went along with Turkey on taking over and using NATO weapons to take over northern Cyprus, and why did Iran hit the northern Cyprus or southern Cyprus?
I'm going to check. This is according to the British.
I mean, they won't dare go against Erdogan.
Left here, Franco. Left here.
You're moving. You're going left, Todd Shapiro.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You turned to be a leftist?
Oh my God! Now I'm really shocked.
But understand what's going to happen now. Now you're going to start getting all the protests in the city. It's going to turn into a mayhem. You're going to start getting, and it's also getting warmer out, so you can get more people coming out. Like it did during Gaza. You're going to start seeing people in the streets protesting. I'm sure the new mayor is going to get his groupies to come out, and they're going to start coming out condemning Israel and attacking Israel. It's going to be an S show as we.
I want the Cypriots to come out, and I want them to picket the United Nations and picket Iran.
How about Turkey? Why do we keep excluding Turkey? Turkey's the next big threat that we have to the United States of America and to Western civilization. What this guy wants to be
talking about. Ed Cox, tell us about Turkey. You're a member of
Assad is out, and the people who are in we're wondering about them. At the moment, President Trump is supporting them. But one thing is clear: they are backed by Turkey. Turkey made that, revolution possible.
No. You are a very smart guy. You have to say it's simple so everybody can understand it out there.
Yeah.
Are you saying that Turkey owns Syria?
Turkey has huge influence there because they supported the new rulers of Syria who kicked out Assad, just several months ago.
And who else? And they have a big influence in northern Cyprus. They own northern Cyprus, and nobody has the courage to say that you don't.
Well, I got an answer for you, John.
Call it an Ottoman complex.
Apparently, they were aimed at the British bases, which are very much on the southern coast of Cyprus. So you're right. They didn't want to mess with the northern part. Yeah.
Because Great Britain supported Trump.
Wow.
Maybe that's the reason.
Wait, hold on. That's not. Wait a second.
One second.
Wait, hold on. This is very important. Are you saying
you have to raise your hand to go on?
That's right. Yeah, nobody can see Eric. Listen, are you saying that the English supported Trump in this excursion? I don't believe so. The most tepid, ridiculous statement in the world.
Well, what was the statement?
He made it really clear. We didn't have anything to do with this.
Right, that's your first statement.
No, I thought the statement says that we're supporting the
just politically, not tactically. And they made a point of saying we didn't have anything tactically to do.
And you can't use our bases. And you can't use our bases.
Yeah, wishy-washy.
He said you can't use the bases?
Well, that was what was reported. But he made a point. We didn't have anything tactically to do with this.
And by the way, if any single British person goes against that statement, they go to jail, right?
Yeah, on X. If they post on X, they're going to jail. Yeah.
In other words, there's no freedom of speech in the UK?
Eric.
That's why the F-22s were supposed to take off from the UK. But Starmer wouldn't let us use the base. So that's why we had to first fly them to Israel. That's why we had to first fly them to Israel so we could use the F-22s. But in terms, to Ed's point about Turkey and Syria, you're going to see a divided Syria. Turkey's going to be controlling strongly the north of it. The Israelis have made very clear there are to be absolutely no military assets south of Baghdad. The Israelis are going to be controlling southern Syria. The Israelis are going to be protecting the Syrian minority communities, the Alawites, the Kurds, the Druze. So that's going to be a divided country. It's going to be interesting to see if Syria can hold together. But to Richard's point, he's 100% right. Once we're done with Iran, the country we're going to have to turn our attention to in terms of supporting the Muslim Brotherhood and undermining Western civilization is going to be Turkey. We have to be careful we don't substitute a Shiite international terrorist axis led by Iran to a Sunni-led international terrorist axis led by Turkey.
Hey, so let me ask, you guys are sophisticated pro-Semites, and what Turkey? What are they? Are they still a NATO nation?
They are still NATO. Absolutely.
And should they be?
Does does any NATO country trust them?
No, and we won't let them have a lot of the sophisticated technology connected to the F-35.
And just because they're friends with Putin?
No, because they're the anti-aircraft stuff. They came from Russia, and we do not want it to be able to take down an F-35.
I mean, even though, who's the president? Erdogan?
Erdogan
says, trust me.
I trust him.
Yeah, as far as they can throw him.
Right, exactly. Look, he is the next major threat, and with this gap, this vacuum after Iran is taken care of, we better pay attention to Turkey because he has the same hegemonic ambitions as the Iranians did.
This is a special edition of the Cats Roundtable. It is live. We're getting a live, and we're going to be right back with Brian Kilmeade, who'll be joining the Cats Roundtable. Again, you're listening to Talk Radio.
Sunday morning, too?
He's working, too. He woke up. The other guys didn't. Anyway, we'll be right back.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.